All right, I think that works. How's it going, everybody? This is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS strategy show. Just myself today. Um, we'll try to get Nolan on a couple shows here going forward, and then Cliffy. Um, yeah, so hockey's back, and we finally made it. So um, let's see if I can find this YouTube link to make sure we're streaming in the right place. All right, let me get these other people uh, over here from the other link. Seems like I always stream to the wrong place, but here's what we're gonna do. Give me 10 seconds if you're watching this, and I will send this to the scheduled show. All right. We'll wait for some people to filter in, but man, it's hard to believe that hockey's finally back. So I did write an article. Hey, you're not Adam. Ship my money. No, not quite. That guy, man, that feels like forever ago when Adam shipped everything. Um, that one, I think it was over the All-Star break because the contests were huge. Um, but yeah, Adam was messaging me a little bit this morning. He's only three maxing, so we've got a chance for today's slate. So Adam won't bank everything, hopefully, unless he hits the nuts with one of his three lineups. Um, how are we doing on uh, the video and the audio are out of sync? That wasn't gonna be my question, but I don't know how to fix that. As long as you can hear me, I guess. Who, you know, we'll figure it out in the future. Jordan's not producing the show, and that's why the production value is not going to be elite. But Nolan's in chat. All right, cool. Video and audio look fine. All right, good to see. Good to see. Yes, Bud Kelly. Um, Firing up my 10-cent lineups now. Yeah, I know people were disappointed um, about the contest sizing. We actually, I don't know about maybe um, DK just realized that their contests were tiny, but they, for the first time that I've seen in a while, put up a slate and then just axed the tournament. They had a 10K to first NHL tournament. It's like, come on, after 4.5, almost 5 months, that's all we're gonna get is a 10K to first. They bumped up to 20K to first. Hopefully that can fill. I know everyone loves overlay, but yeah, overlay's not great for the long term. So hopefully that fills. FanDuel, I saw it already filled, and then I just put in some lineups on SuperDraft. So I haven't played too much on SuperDraft, but they are the presenting sponsor of the show. If you don't like salary caps and you like something a little bit different, multipliers, go over to SuperDraft and get started there. If you deposit with promo code Awesemo10, I believe it's if you deposit at least $20, you get 10 free dollars in SuperDraft cash. So pretty good deal. Go use that. And yeah, SuperDraft looks pretty fun for today. They're not locking at the same time as DK and FanDuel. They're locking at 3 Eastern. So you got some time after the show. No excuses. Their tournaments aren't even close to filled. In fact, yeah, I think I put mine in, the barn burner. So there you go. Now I'm going to have to switch all those lineups. You guys are going to just dupe me a bunch of times. Kind of trying to not go too quickly here because I went to the wrong link. But it looks like we've got a bunch of people ready to play. I know everyone's excited, including myself. Not super excited about having to update projections and all that other stuff throughout the day. Like I wish the games were closer together, but I'll take an NHL DFS slate any way that I can get it. So just running down some of the tools we have, and you can see that that's going on above my head on the ticker. We've got some promo codes. Promo code restart gets you 50% off your first month of the Awesemo Platinum Monthly Pass. You can add on FC once you get that pass if you'd like. Also, we've got promo code NHL is back. That works for NHL Monthly. Again, can add on FC after the fact once you purchase your package, or just email support and ask. I'll probably be in there, or Nolan, or one of the other guys that handles all the support stuff. So we'll get you set up. Use those promo codes. Again, NHL is back. That's obviously for the NHL package, NHL Monthly, 50% off your first month. And then promo code restart is how you get 50% off your first month of everything on the site, excluding FC. You can add it on later, but I'll probably have to say that a few more times because people will ask. Seems like we've gotten that's the most asked question recently. One more time, I'm going to put this link in the other show. Looks like the majority has come over to the correct spot. How do you unpause the subscriptions? You should have got an email in, I think it was like May 7th, May 9th, around there, to unpause your subscription. So the way you do it, it's going to be different for everyone. So go back and look at your inbox if you can't find that email or you didn't get one. A few people didn't, but go find that email, and then that's that. It's got all the information you need. All right, I bear with me. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I do everything, go through the show. We'll go through each game. Quick want to talk about, and I wrote an article on this if you guys do want to check it out. I wrote it a couple weeks ago, or maybe late last week. So I'll pop this in, and if you want to check that out, kind of my thoughts about, is NHL DFS going to be different? And it definitely is. I already talked about, like you're going to have to pay attention. But I think for people, like if you're watching the show, the majority of you probably are already paying attention, and there's, COVID is running rampant. So it's not like people in a lot of places can go anywhere. So I think there's going to be pretty good edge for people that are paying attention, and that goes for all sports. But I wouldn't call NHL a niche sport. It's kind of in the middle of being like a niche sport. It's certainly not the size of NBA. It's certainly not the size of MLB. But a lot of pros still play it, and they're max entering, and they may not be paying as much attention to their NHL lineups. It's harder to get news, just not being as major of a sport as NBA. So I think it's going to be a pretty good time. Hopefully we can make some money, and it's exciting to see some familiar, not faces, but usernames in the chat. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Thank you all for coming back and watching. I thought we might not get here, and we would just start the season up in October. But it's August 1st, and we've got some playoff hockey to get going on. The schedule's out. I don't need to go through that. But one thing that I'm a little bit more interested in these games specifically is because of the schedule, maybe power play stacking a little bit more. If you're not going to pay attention, or if you just want to onslaught a team, I think that's probably okay in general, because, or at least I'm more okay with it. It's not a big part of my strategy for normal NHL DFS, but I think I'm going to do it a little bit more. And so that was kind of the one thing that I could think of that might be different, but maybe I'm just completely missing something. And hopefully we can react, and it won't take too long to react. If there is, something new we need to be doing in NHL DFS. So, yes, Seth, congrats on winning the Millie Maker. That $3,000 Millie Maker Bink. That's really awesome. Glad you can put that in your Twitter profile. All right, let me make sure nothing else crazy is going on. Got my notifications muted, so let's see what we can get. All right, let me remind about this message. I'll just leave that up. Okay. Seth's buying rounds for all of us. That's correct. All right, let's start with the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. 2.7 implied total here for the Rangers. 3.3 for the Hurricanes. Shesterkin and Mrazek are the goalies I have in net. We don't really know what's going on with the goalies. So I'm basically, the way I'm playing it is, and I don't really care about goalie that much. But I think it's important for this game because $7,400 goalie with a bad defense in front of him going up against Carolina, he's probably a one-off goalie you're looking at. I'm assuming it's Shesterkin, but I don't know. Tony DeAngelo is a game time decision, and then everything else looks pretty normal. We saw these lines for the Rangers before. We've seen, obviously, Carolina 1, Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen, stacked top line. Stahl, Zingle, Williams. I think we've seen a little bit of that trio. And then Trocheck, Nichus, and Niederreiter. Now, Carolina should have the advantage in this series, especially on home ice. They're probably going to match Stahl against Zibanejad, Kreider, and Buchnevich. And then, not like it's a walk in the park, but Strome, Panarin, and Jesper Fast get Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen for the most part. So Carolina 1 looks to be one of the more popular options on the slate. Our ownership projections have them, let's see. Actually, they've come down a little bit. So shout out to Eddie getting the ownership projections up last night. They're looking to be popular, not as popular as I think they probably should be. They're going to be one of my higher exposed stacks. I play a pretty spread out approach, but I think if I get to a line that's 25-30% in my personal exposures, my 150, I think it's probably going to be Carolina 1 or maybe one other line that looks really good and priced well and isn't overly owned. So they look phenomenal. Just too cheap on DK. I'm using DK pricing. Stahl, Zingle, Williams. I just kind of don't like playing Stahl. Going up against Zibanejad, I think they're going to be more focused on shutting them down. And Stahl is just a really good shutdown center. So a little concerned about playing a lot of Rangers here. So I'm kind of in line with the ownership. I think if you are going to the Rangers, they could certainly get hot on the power play. And so I'm going to try to mix in some Rangers power play stacks. Probably going to end up limiting my exposure to below the field, maybe half the field at most of Rangers 1, just because it's a really, really, really tough matchup. I prefer the second line if you are full stacking. And then, man, I buried the lead here. So Carolina's not going to have Dougie Hamilton for this game. It was reported he was going to be out for weeks, and this was like last week or maybe early this week. And so that's a huge blow to Carolina's everything, really. Guy playing 25 minutes a night, top power play, he's a stud. And so he's not going to play. This game, he might be back, though, sooner than what they thought. Vatanen's going to get top power play duties, one of the better values on the slate, playing top power play with Aho, Svech, Teravainen. So you kind of know what to do with Vatanen Other guys that I'm looking at on the defensive end in this game, Tony DeAngelo is game time decision. Probably going to have pretty low ownership if he goes. And we don't have him listed up here because he's a game time decision, so that kind of messes up our code here. But he's probably going to play top power play. And we've seen him have some massive games. So, if you're going full power play stack for the Rangers here, which is kind of the way I prefer to do it, Strome, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, and Tony D. If you're just trying to hit a home run, which you are in NHL DFS, if you're playing tournaments, obviously. I think a lot of us are playing tournaments. I think that's about it for this game. Carolina won, kind of the premier play on the slate, in my opinion. Looks like they're going to be a little bit less popular than, Calgary, the Islanders, McDavid, Draisaitl, those kind of guys. So, really, really like them. Let's go to the second game of the slate. This is, we're dropping the puck here at 3 Eastern. Crawford, Koskinen, those are 2 guys I have in. Your guess is as good as mine. It appears Crawford is going to be able to play. I have no clue what Edmonton's going to do with their goalie situation, whether it's going to be Smith or Koskinen. I think maybe just getting the right goalies on this slate, you're probably going to be able to knock out a good amount of the field. Yeah, Tony D's hurt. Game time decision. Yep, you're right. You're right on there, salty old man. If Tony D's out, do you think Fox jumps to top power play? I'm trying to think who they had. They kind of kept Trouba on second PP for the most of the year. Most of the year. I mean, it's been almost a year since the season started. I think Fox did get some top power play time. We don't have a ton of time, but I think it would be Fox, if I remember correctly. Anyways, Crawford, Koskinen, 2.9 applied total for the Hawks, 3.2 for the Oilers. I think our ownership projections might be even a little bit low on Edmonton. I think you're going to see a ton of McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins stacks. Now they're kind of expensive, but $7,600, you're probably going to get some casual money on this slate. And everybody knows McDavid, so they're awesome. Specifically the Oilers' top power play. Careful with doing 5-man power play stacks because Chason might bring up you might get more Alex Chason than what you should have, which is probably closer to 0 than 10%. So what I did was I limited Chason. What do I think of Igor in that? Nihas, stay on the right game. Come on, man. You've been watching long enough to know. Yeah, Igor is great if he plays. He's going to see a ton of volume. Basically, you're just fading him getting pulled. If you're playing on DK, he's way too cheap. Back to this game. Clefbaum. If it's not Giordano, it's probably Clefbaum as the top option. Blackhawks are atrocious defensively. You look at all these lines. In fact, I don't even know if these are going to be the correct lines. Blackhawks like to switch things up. Taves and Saad are probably going to be together. Strome and Kane are probably going to be together. Whether or not it's... I don't even know who they could put on that second line. It could be Nylander. There was some talk that maybe that's not going to be the case. Blackhawks are a headache to try to figure out their lines, and then we're not going to have lines. Maybe even at game time, but certainly not at lock. So a little worried about playing Blackhawks even strength lines. Again, if you're unsure, kind of I think resorting to the power play stack is okay here for the Hawks. DeBrincat looks awesome. I have no clue if he's going to play on the first line or the third line. But if you're one-offing, under 5K for DeBrincat is pretty pretty good value. So I crunched like these lines were correct, and so I got a ton of like Tays, DeBrincat, Saad, but a bunch of those lineups are going to get filtered out because they're a little bit more popular probably than they should be. I really like Edmonton in this series. I see some people talking about the Blackhawks kind of being a sneaky team. I think the Blackhawks are atrocious. Maybe Crawford can stand on his head for 3 games and win this, but it's not like Edmonton's phenomenal. But I think just a little bit too much offense here for Edmonton in this series. McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Draisaitl. That's like if you can get those 3 forwards in plus Clefbaum, that's awesome. And that's kind of where Chason comes in handy. If you're just punting and you hope he gets a couple power play assists. So that's something I'm going to have a little bit of. Again, not going crazy with Chason. Not a huge fan of what Edmonton's doing with their even strength lines. I kind of wish Ennis and Nugent-Hopkins were switched. Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Nugent-Hopkins were literally one of the best lines. They were one of the best lines in hockey for a while there when McDavid was out. And then when they got Athanasiou and Ennis, they've been trying different guys out. With McDavid, McDavid hasn't played much. Excuse me. McDavid hasn't played much with Nugent-Hopkins this season. McDavid's going to be okay with anyone. And so I think I would want to load up this Draisaitl line with Nugent-Hopkins and Yamamoto, but looks like that's not going to be the case, at least to start. Nurse, more of a one-off guy at 5,200, just because he's not getting top power play duties. I'm not the biggest Duncan Keith guy at 4,700 here, but again, he's top power play. You're pretty safe in assuming that he hasn't really moved from there. So I got to about 15% if the slate started right now. All camp, it's been Ennis on that line. On the Edmonton top line, is that right? Well, if that's the case, I guess who would be here? Would it be Nugent-Hopkins? I'm not sure. I'll have to check that out. Connor Murphy at 4,300, a guy who kind of does the peripheral stuff. Probably going to see 20 minutes. Someone that I'm going to have a little bit of on the Blackhawks side. Just again, a little uncomfortable stacking up Blackhawks 5-on-5 lines. I don't really know what to expect when the game actually starts. And if they start slow, they're probably just going to put Tays and Kane together, maybe with DeBrincat, maybe not. Anything can happen here, kind of with both of these teams. But at least you know where the scoring is going to come from on Edmonton, because it's come from Draisaitl and McDavid. And that's really about it for the last few years. Let's go to the Panthers and the Islanders. 2.8 implied total for the Panthers. Oh, okay. Ennis was on line too. Okay, so I think we had it correct what you're saying. Could be Neal on top power play in the exhibition. Homer Cleese. What's up, Homer Cleese? Good to see you back in the NHL streets. 2.8 implied total for the Panthers. 2.8 for the Islanders. I've got Bobrovsky and Varlamov in there. Just pay attention. The lines are familiar. Now, we just got news that Barkov, Huberdeau, and Dadonov were going to be reunited. That wasn't the case in their exhibition game. I think it was Barkov, Dadonov, and Vetrano. And now we're going back to Hall of Vetrano and Hoffman, it appears. So Huberdeau is kind of the guy that drives things. And so top power play, now he's back on the top line. Looks pretty good. The Islanders are kind of a confusing team. Some games it'll be Barzal. against opposing top competition for a lot of the time. But part of me thinks that just ends up being the case because they're getting the Barzal line a little bit of additional run. I really like the Barzal Lee Everly line. Home team top line, and that's cheap. I'm not saying anything outrageous here. But seeing the changes here that Florida made, I kind of like both top lines here. And I mean, specifically Islanders one. Full power play correlation. Everly gets left off a bunch. Florida not great defensively. They've had some shoddy goaltending as well. Nelson, the stone cold shutdown line here, Bots, you think? I mean, you'd probably know better than me. I was looking at their last few games, and granted, that was 5 months ago, but it kind of looked like a little bit of everyone. I mean, it's great for the Barzal line if they go up against Hall, Vetrano, Hoffman as well. And it could be Pajot too. So Islanders have generally been a team that they're a little bit frustrating. Their prices are always look good on paper, but they don't really ride the Barzal line probably as much as they should, which is weird. I'm going with Islanders one a ton. A pretty decent chance they're my top overall stack. Right now, if the slate started, they would be my top stack. I like the power play here too, mixing in Pajot. If you want to take off Everly, put in Pajot, add in Pulock. I'm a big Pulock guy. Just has a rocket of a shot. $5,300. Playing with Pelech, the minutes might not be fantastic, but again, he's just kind of a high upside guy at 5,300. I think in this spot. So Isles one plus Pulock. On the other side, Hall of Vetrano, Hoffman, they're okay. I think they're going to get some additional steam just because they're really cheap. Hoffman gets top power play. A lot of people like throwing him in as a one-off or in the Florida power play stack. Not saying you can't do that, but I like to focus on the top line here if I can for Florida, and didn't find it too difficult to get to them. I think Barkov's ownership is going to be a little bit lower because the stack ownership is probably going to be lower. People may not react to news. Maybe they made lineups last night or early this morning, or just didn't see, and maybe they're using FanDuel's lines or something like that. So I think you're perfectly fine playing Florida one as well. Right now I have about, let's see where we're at. Let me check on. So I have about 10% of Barkov. I quick got in a crunch with the real Florida one lines because I was crunching like the big three weren't going to be back together. But looks like I'm a little under the field, but still have a decent amount. Yandel is kind of the worst when he's this cheap. What you could do with Yandel is just make a group and say you have to play someone on the top power play with him if you play him in FC. That's something I've used a bunch of times. That's probably what I'll end up doing here. Ekblad is the more peripheral guy. He's kind of been disappointing. I used to be a huge Ekblad guy, and I still think he's fine. 4,800 and not top power play is a little bit expensive. But you're probably locking in 20, 22, 25 minutes. Is FC going to have ownership? Let's see if they have it on mine. They just had it on mine. Maybe they're having some issues here, or we're waiting for the... maybe Eddie just ran ownership, and they still have to pull it from us. Well, he ran it. No, he ran it this morning, so it should be up there. But good catch. Do I think Islanders is chalk? Yeah, I think Islanders one is chalk. Good chalk though, I think. Like, it'd be one thing if, they were chalk and just because they're cheap. And that's definitely part of the reason, but their numbers at 5-on-5 are phenomenal for this top line, and they're fully correlated. So it's hard for me to poke holes. They're not really going to see that tough of a matchup. Barkov isn't that great defensively. I like it. And if they go up against Hall, Vetrano, Hoffman, they should get the best of that matchup too. So low total, I guess. Yeah, you'd like to see a higher total, but how much Leddy? $2,600 for Leddy. Let's see. Too much. I actually have 9.3% right now, so I have 14 out of 150 lineups would have Leddy on DK. That's probably too much, honestly. I mean, this is the time you want to play him, though, right? Like, no, it's actually not. Don't. I think 9% is too much of Leddy. Edmonton Pitt will be the chalk. Yeah, but who is everyone going to pair him with? I mean, I'm not against playing chalk. You guys know I love me some chalk. It's just, who do you play the chalk with? Got to avoid those high-owned combinations. I see, wow, 250 plus of you in chat. If you guys could hit the like button and subscribe and do all that, that would be very nice. Show the bosses we should keep doing some NHL streams, because NHL DFS is really fun, and likes and subscribes help grow the channel. We've also got podcasts as well. We've got not only the main feed, but we've also got individual feeds for each sport now. So you guys can go check those out. Just search Awesemo. You can find PGA, UFC. There will be an NFL channel. There's an NBA channel now. We'll have NHL. Yeah, it's good stuff. A lot going on here at Awesemo.com. Canadiens, Penguins, 2.4 implied total for Montreal, 3 for Pittsburgh. This one, I think we know who the goalies are going to be. Price and Murray, they're not confirmed. But I would imagine pretty good chance that both of these guys are in net tonight. All right. Gensel back for Pittsburgh. They thought he was going to be pretty much out for the season, and he was. And now he's playing and back in his rightful spot with Crosby. Those two have been very, very good together for a few years now. Good to see them back together. No Dominic Simone. It is Connor Sheary that's going to get the first crack at the top line with Crosby and Gensel. They pretty much put everyone there. Just like rotated guys in and out. I think we got was the Brandon Tanev game where he was on top line until pregame skate, and then no one swapped off, and then he scored like an OT goal. Was that this year? I can't even remember. But I think we've seen Tanev up there. We've seen Zach Aston Reese up there. And Crosby and Gensel just do what they do, which is generate a lot of scoring chances and, for the most part, shut down opposing top lines. Now, that means they're going to go up against Tatar, Gallagher, and Danault. That is not even sneakily. Maybe they're still sneaky good, but they're sneaky great. One of the best lines in all of hockey this season. We know they're going to be together. They're pretty cheap, so I'm a little nervous that they're going to be an optimizer play. Let's see where Gallagher's at. He's the one that gets the most ownership. Pretty low, actually. So I think even the top stacks tool might like them. We do have top stacks for NHL. If you like it for MLB and NFL, and top fighters, top pitchers, all that stuff. For every sport, we've got one for NHL. It's just top stacks. Top 2 stack percentage here for Montreal. One is 3.7%. Actually, the top stack tool does not like him. because they're almost 6% owned. Now, they're really good at generating chances, but the matchup against Crosby is a little bit too tough for me to kind of give the green light on playing a bunch of Montreal 1. I don't really have much right now. I'm trying to run a bunch of different stacks, and I still can't get to more than like 3% of this line. And that's just because I have 150. They probably wouldn't make my top 50 or maybe not even my top 100 lineups. But a few of them did sneak in right now. It's just not a great matchup. So I actually prefer the Crosby against Sheary line. If I'm going to one in this game, that might be somewhat of a hot take. Just because Malkin is with Zucker and Rust. We know Malkin and Rust have been very solid together at 5-on-5 at generating chances. They're not great defensively. But I like Crosby and Gensel if you can. Pittsburgh's going to be popular, but not overly popular. Actually, really flat ownership here. Let's see where Crosby's at. We've got Crosby at well below 10%. Malkin above 10%. So it looks like people are going to go to Malkin. There will be some power play stacks. There will be some power play stacks in my lineups for sure of Pittsburgh. Price is a little bit scary. I mean, in this series, like Pittsburgh should hand it to him at on special teams. They are really outclassing Montreal here. They haven't even had their full power play, I think, like more than a few games this season with Malkin, Crosby, Gensel, Hornquist, and Letang. Schultz PP1. I didn't see that when I was going through everything. But anyways, they've got all their studs back. Pittsburgh, I think, is a pretty scary team if they can get even decent goaltending. I think they hand it to Montreal in this series and end this pretty quick. Maybe Montreal 1 can get going at home and sneak out a couple games in this series, but yeah, I think this one's gonna go to Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh for DFS in this game. Montreal 3 going up against the likes of Marleau and McCann, and Pitt 4. I don't like if you're punting or just trying to get another unique lineup. I think Montreal 3 is actually okay. Dirt cheap. You can throw in Clefbaum or whoever your favorite top defenseman is and get in like Edmonton power play stack or something like that. Something more chalky. So if you pair them with MTL3 or MON3, depending on how you want to abbreviate. Yeah, they look okay to me. Kotkaniemi and Lehkonen especially. But $2,700 Byron. Jordan Wheel line. I mean, maybe you consider this Montreal 3, Domi, Wheel, and Dale Weiss. Domi's probably going to move up at some point, or at least he's going to get better than top or fourth line minutes at some point, I would imagine. I don't know if I trust that Schultz is going to be on top power play. So, man, if he is, that's obviously way too cheap. But he's another guy like Yandel. He's another guy like Yandel where he doesn't really do much on his own. Kind of needs the assists or a few blocks and an assist. So he would just be really a throw-in if I'm playing Pit 1 or something like that. And you just hope for that correlation if you believe he's going to be on top power play. Okay, yeah, Cliffy agrees about Domi. So maybe things could get mixed up at some point, or they'll find some additional shifts for Max Domi. Hellebuck, chalk goalie? What? Is he? What? Let's see. What time we got here? All right. 10:13 my time. We got about 45 minutes. All right, I got to get off of here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We got one more game. If you guys got any questions or if I'm forgetting something, I'm probably forgetting a bunch of stuff that we usually do. So apologies for that. It's going to take me a few more shows to get everything back to the way it was. Oh, okay. That's your top goalie. There you go. Homer Clee's top goalie is Hellebuck. I like it. I think he's going to see a bunch of volume. Gotta run to Target. No Target for me today. I went yesterday, so don't have to go again today. I mean, I'm not against the idea of going again today, but no, it's going to be hockey. There are a ton of sports going on today. There's NASCAR. There's UFC, MLB live before lock later today with EMAC and myself. There's something for everything. For everybody. I forgot about NBA. Can't forget about NBA. The prize pools are huge. So another reason to subscribe to the channel. If you like any of those sports and you want to watch free videos, free strategy shows, we've got that going on pretty much all day. So jam-packed. This got to be the best sports day of the year. I mean, even with no fans everywhere, this is going to be pretty awesome. All right. Let's go to the next game. Or I should say the last game. This one starts, 10 plus hours after the slate starts? So here we go. Jets, Flames, 2.9 applied total for the Jets. Yeah, when NFL gets back, my goodness. 3.1 for the Flames. Hellebuck. We have Talbot in there. Again, not sure if it's going to be Riddick or what. This is one where I think I have a pretty good read on it. Backlund Tkachuk, in general, gets opposing top lines. I think now would be a great time for them to do that. Backlund Tkachuk, Mangiapane, probably my favorite value stack. Outside of the Islanders one, if you count them. Winnipeg one, not great defensively. I know they're cheap. I'm not gonna X them out, but I'm really gonna limit myself on how much Winnipeg one I get. I think if you are going to Hellebuck, maybe you have a Winnipeg one stack with him. Not a big fan of this line, Eakin, Ehlers, Line A, especially if Ehlers isn't going to be in the power play at all. Really, you're looking for the top power play anyways for the Jets if you're going anywhere. But yeah, really like the Flames here. Was kind of sad to see them looking so popular in our ownership projections. Maybe you got to do something funky with your defenseman. But like, do we really think Giordano's not going to be on top power play? I don't think that's going to stick if Gustafsson gets the first run. So not really worried. And if he's not, like maybe they split time and he goes on with Backlund, Mangiapane. So it works out. Even if these are correct, if they're incorrect, I think you play Gio. He's my as exposed guy right now. He is one of the more popular players on the slate. Nice COVID talk going on in chat. That's just phenomenal. Calgary 2, favorite play here. I like Calgary 1 too, but just the ownership discrepancy is a little bit too wide for my liking, especially when you consider they're similarly priced. Love Tkachuk at 6K here. Calgary 1 has a really good matchup too, going up against Eakin, Ehlers, and Line A. That line is pretty poor defensively. So I love it. I love it all on the Calgary side. This is going to be really tilting if I wait all day for my Calgary stacks and they get shut out by Hellebuck. Hellebuck has that in him for sure. And he's 7,500. I can see why people like that because on DK you get the 35 save bonus. I think he's got a good chance of I think he's got a really good chance of hitting that. And even in a loss, he might not even kill your team if he gives up 3 goals, but he has 35, 40 saves. We've seen losing goalies be in winning lineups in GPPs, like large field GPPs. So he would be probably one of the better one-offs if you're multi-entering. You've got a diverse player pool. Don't think you need to mess with the third lines here. Don't think you need to play Lucic or Dylan Dubé or Bennett. I shouldn't say don't play them, but because there's probably a price and an ownership that everyone should be considered. But let me see if I got to any of these before I kind of make my final cuts here. I didn't get to any Calgary 3 currently, so stick with the top 2 lines for me. Love it. Love it, love it. Late night hammer right here. Any sleepers for the slate? I kind of mentioned Montreal 3. That's pretty deep. Kotkaniemi, Byron, Lehkonen. Like sleeper defenseman? Or what are we looking for? Sleeper stacks? So if you scroll up here. No, I'm kind of just, I think what I'm doing is just playing the best plays and hoping I can get some low-owned combos that have a ton of upside. Yeah, stack types. Homer Cleese asks. I like full 5-man power play stacks, which again I kind of mentioned it off the show, and I mentioned it in the NHL DFS return article that I did. I think they're more viable when we have less news. The slates are all like the games are all spread out, so even if you do get late news, you might not be able to figure it out. So I think as a default, if you can't figure out a team and they've got an okay power play, like obviously Edmonton, they've got the best power play in the NHL by a mile this season. But teams like Pittsburgh, you've got Malkin and Crosby. I think like a 5-man power play onslaught is a really good way to get unique. Yeah. I'm not running Josh stacks today. I suppose you could. Actually, I don't even know. I think FC allows you to do it in their general settings. So let me see if I do have any that came up. So like Monahan and Backlund. Did I get any of that? No, I didn't. Maybe they changed the default back to no. Maybe you could do Calgary Josh stack. Edmonton, although I'd probably leave out one or both of Cassian and Tyler Ennis. Again, a Josh stack is a 5, usually 6-man, and oftentimes the goalie on DK, where you just basically say, all right, this team's going to dominate. I'm going to take their top 2 lines or their first and third line if it applies. So like Carolina, you might go 1 and 3. Edmonton would be 1 and 2. Chicago, some hodgepodge of Tays, DeBrincat, Kane, and whoever else you wanted to fit in there. The way I like to do Josh stacks is with one defenseman. So like Gio, for example, on Calgary, you'd go Gio with maybe the top line. You leave off Backlund or Mangiapane or something like that. And there you got your 6 flames. You probably take your goalie. Who cares who you take at goalie at that point? So you might as well take the correlated guy if he fits, because if your stack goes off, and you got to assume that on every lineup that like it's an if-then thing. So if your power play stack, your Josh stack goes off, you might as well just throw in the goalie if it makes sense to do so, because you're probably going to get the win if they score 3 or 4 goals. DeBrincat, yep. DeBrincat, I don't even think he's a sleeper. I think DeBrincat's just good. He's just a good goal scorer, and he's underpriced. And, we're not exactly sure where he's going to play. I can't be sure of any of these Chicago lines because it's the Chicago Blackhawks. But as a one-off, that's a really good target, I think. Oh, yeah. Stack types, 3-3, I think is usually viable. Some of the teams more viable than others. But if you're willing to do 3-3 even strength line stacking, like guys will get left off. So I know Sheary's not great, but the third guy on this line always gets half the ownership or even less sometimes in Crosby Gensel. If he can chip in a goal or gets in, they score a couple full line goals, you might be unique by just playing the correlations. Favorite goalies, it's hard, like favorite goalies, they're like low probability play goalies that have massive upside, I think, are Igor, assuming he goes for the Rangers, and then Hellebuck, because I think Calgary's going to carry play and be able to put up a ton of shots. So on DK, those are probably the guys you'd be looking at for one-offs. Like I would maybe avoid playing a ton of Matt Murray one-offs. I think it's pretty low upside. You probably need a shutout in a tournament. All right, we are at 11:25 Eastern. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to get out of here, going to update projections quick. I don't think there's anything for the first game. Oh, I'm sorry. Tony DeAngelo. We should know in a few minutes whether or not he's playing. And that's the news we got for the first game. I'll be around in Slack. If you got any questions, feel free to hit me up. Again, promo code RESTART. Use that on Platinum Monthly to get 50% off your first month. You can add on FC after you purchase the package. We're going to get a ton of questions about that. You guys are probably going to email support about that. You can do it. Go to accounts and then go to subscriptions and then go to change plan and just select FC with the package you just purchased. Code NHL is back as well. All one word, 50% off NHL monthly. So if you want to join us for a couple months, take 50% off your first month, and we'll be having shows, although these are free, to whoever wants to watch them. But top stacks, projections, model made by Alex and myself, ownership projections, bunch of good stuff. So come check us out. Use those codes because why not? Why pay full price when you don't have to? We will be back for this show on Monday. I will see if Cliffy is going to join. If he's not able to, it will be myself. So good luck, guys, and see you on Monday.